Yo, I don't know about you guys, but I'm down. Now, before you go and you rage in the comment section, okay, relax, chill, watch until the end, and you might see that my takes are quite reasonable. I mean, hey, you clicked on this video for a reason, all right? So Nvidia showed off DLSS 5, and if nothing else, the memes have been spectacular. The last 2 days have been pure comedy, man. I think we can all agree on that. So this is just like a frank discussion between gamers, right? And when it comes to DLSS 5, there's kind of two ways you can look at it. It's like the next evolution of the downfall of gaming, which is basically what you see everywhere. And there's more kind of the practical approach, which is what I usually preach on my channel, which is the power and responsibility of basically everything is in your hands. And if you go back throughout my entire channel, there's repeated examples of this. The Intel degradation, everyone says the world is falling apart. I say fix it yourself. AMD CPUs blowing up, it's the motherboard manufacturer's fault. I say fix it yourself. Drivers, fix it yourself. Hell, the whole thing about PC optimization, overclocking, tuning games, and the complexity of PCs going, my entire channel is built around the consumer taking care of themselves and controlling the outcome of their own gaming. Now, when the news first broke out on Twitter, man, all I saw was like mainstream media outlets just completely shitting on it. And the first thought that came to my, the usual rhetoric, the gaming is over, Nvidia's the devil, etc., etc. Now, the first thought that came to my head was, what are people exactly complaining about when you can just turn it off, right? Like they're not holding a gun to your head saying you have to use the technology, right? And then even if there was some kind of like artistic direction kind of grievance where like you can just change the entire way the game looks at will, even if that did exist, there's still always going to be the option to turn it off, right? So that argument in itself, Personally, I'm far more concerned about the cheating ramifications of this, where what's to say you're playing like a first-person shooter, let's say Warzone, for example, and you make every character a bright pink clown, and it's like a filter over top, so it doesn't like trigger anti-cheat. I haven't seen anyone cover that part of it, but that's the most concerning thing to me. Now, I made a tweet saying just that. Why do gamers and media outlets just hate on everything instead of just not using it? You have the power not to use it. Now, the best argument that I've seen that opposing this viewpoint was, well, they said the same thing about DLSS, the original DLSS, and now we have like frame gen and DLAA, and you basically can't even play games anymore without some kind of DLSS implementation. And to that, I actually do agree. That's rough because like I'm just playing Expedition 33 right now, and I'm playing that game with a 5090 at 1440p, and I can barely run 100 FPS on that thing, native 1440p max settings, right? Without DLSS. So like, I spent like 30 minutes tweaking that game, and I ended up having to use 2x frame gen if I wanted to keep native resolution. So the argument being, game optimization by developers ever since the creation of DLSS has gone to complete shit, that now we actually have to run all these dumbass settings just to be able to play our games. And yeah, I agree. I do agree with that. Now here's the thing. Like, on no planet should an RTX 5090, a $3,000 graphics card, get 100 FPS in 1440p in a single player title. Like, come on. Like, what are we doing? Now, if you take that argument and you boil it down all the way to why does every single game use that garbage now? And you know what the reason is? And you know what the reason why? Is because consumers keep buying that shit. Now, I already know just by saying that one statement, half of you already clicked off. But it's true, man. It's legit. So, for example, the last real bad one was Borderlands 4. Do you remember that shit? So when Borderlands 4 came out, the developers that made that game, like the performance was so bad when it just launched that the developers were like, yeah, just turn on frame gen, which didn't work. At that point, so as soon as the developers said use frame gen, that game should have had a mass exodus, mass like review bomb, mass refund bomb. It should have been like a Cyberpunk 2.0, like when that game first launched, and it had return bombs, right? Like the consumers need to stop accepting garbage if they want garbage to not be implemented. So basically, what I'm saying is, as a community, as a whole, us gamers, us tech channels, etc., us screaming at the internet hoping Nvidia will do something, it's not going to yield anything. For example, just even like the RTX 5000 launch, every single tech media outlet gave those cards bad reviews, and they're all sold out anyway. So from the perspective of Nvidia, you have two hands here. You have a vocal, you could even say it's maybe even a vocal majority. Like there's a large majority of online people that hate something and they're being very vocal about it. And then there's the stock price. And then there's the sales figures. And if no matter what this one is doing, this one can complain all it wants. If everything is constantly selling out, games are being bought with pre-orders and early access, all this garbage, people just keep spending their money. So if there's record profits, what would you do in that situation, right? You would not care about what the vocal majority is saying when there's profits. And that is just the sad reality. No matter what anybody says, this technology is coming. All you can do as a consumer is not if you don't agree with it, you don't participate. And I practice what I preach, man. If there's a game that I strongly disagree with, like something that's super woke or something that's really preachy or virtue signally, I will never buy that game. I don't care if my one purchase doesn't affect the entire scheme as a whole. I ain't buying it. They ain't getting my money. I didn't have an RTX 5090 for the first year that graphics card came out because I refused to pay more than $2,000 for one, MSRP, right? And then I found that one from Best Buy that was like $1,900 open box, and it was a scam. Whatever, long story. But again, law of the cheapest model, right? You guys know me. If I can't get something that I want, I will not participate. I might not have an impact on the grand scheme of things, but I'm doing my part. I'm voting with my wallet. People keep asking me, why do I keep going back to Overwatch and not play Battle Royales anymore? Because if I get hacked or cheated once, I don't play the game anymore. Period. Because I refuse to play a game where the developers are not focusing on anti-cheat. If I continue to play a game that is constantly wasting my time with cheaters, then I am rewarding the game developer with my time, and they have no incentive to change. Do you see where I'm going with all this? The only thing you can do when you disagree with something is not participate. So that aside, what do I actually think about the technology and how it's going to impact gaming? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put huge titties on every single one of my games. I'm hoping that this is going to be the ultimate counter to woke culture, where I can take all these ugly, uglified female protagonists and turn them into characters that we all used to love. Like, what's that beach volleyball game on the original Xbox that came out? Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball? You remember that shit? Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball? That's it. Yeah, baby. This is what I grew up on. I played this shit for hours, man. So I'm going to use this technology to go back to this. Yeah. What I think is actually going on is like, it's some kind of like chicken or the egg situation where like, okay, you take the RTX 5090, right? The number of cores that graphics card has is ridiculous. Like that thing, like on no planet should that we theoretically speaking, if you have an RTX 5090 with that many cores and that much VRAM, that much bandwidth, we should not need another graphics card for 20 years if they actually optimized games like they used to. So game developers are like, well, there's DLSS and frame gen now, so we're just going to push out this slop, and then gamers will have to toggle it on, right? Okay, so now what happens is NVIDIA has to constantly come out with progressively more powerful graphics cards to compensate for the lack of optimization from game developers. And then they have to constantly push out new versions of DLSS to compensate for game developers. And then it's just this cycle of the more things that NVIDIA comes out with, the lazier game developers get, which means that NVIDIA has to come up with new tricks because they can't just keep throwing more cores at the problem. So now we've gotten to the point where NVIDIA is literally just like, we're going to redesign the entire damn game on the fly so that it actually looks good. And they're trying to like, we don't even care how you code the game anymore. Now, back to the controversial part of it. So when I actually was playing Expedition 33, and even though I was annoyed that I had to use frame gen and DLSS and all this other garbage, now what I actually ended up doing was I dropped the render resolution to 1080p. I got it up to 200 FPS that way, and then I brought it back up to 1440p, used 2 times frame gen, and then got it up to 200 FPS again, right? And I was comparing the motion clarity and the picture quality between the two. Maybe I'll do a video on that one day if you guys are interested. If you are, leave a comment down below. I can probably record it with like a 300 FPS camera to show you guys the differences and stuff. But I'll tell you, and with how sensitive my eyes are, with 1440p and 2 times frame gen and Expedition 33, it was good. But it's like after, 30 minutes of playing and I get myself into the story of the game, I kind of forget what settings I used, right? I'm just playing the game now. Once I've perfected the settings of the game with the various toggles that I have, it's like now I'm just enjoying the game. I don't really, my brain, like I might have an opinion about DLSS, or I might have a like ethical issue with it, but when you're actually playing a game, my brain forgets and doesn't care. Do you know what I'm saying? So like when I'm actually playing the game and I'm like, trying to parry the attacks and I time it perfectly, all that kind of stuff, my brain's like, I'm enjoying my game. I don't care what settings are being used, right? So it's kind of like, what I'm trying to say is, if it actually works, then it works. And this might also depend on a game-to-game basis too. So for example, I'm playing Expedition 33, and let's say I just could not get the game to look good, or correctly using the various toggles and DLSSs, then I just wouldn't play the game, right? But the fact that it works so well in that game and my brain can't conceive of a difference, well, I'm just going to enjoy the game anyway. Do you know what I'm saying? I know with videos like this on my channel in 2026, I'm never going to grow to be a large tech tuber just because complaining and whining just isn't a thing that I do. And I don't want to cultivate a community. I don't want my followers or my viewers to be whiners or complainers as well. So how can you make a difference? Vote with your wallet. Complaining online on Twitter, YouTube comments, Reddit, any kind of whining whatsoever. The corporations do not care. They only care about profitability, and you have to hurt their bottom line by voting with your wallet. Do not buy games, do not buy products, do not buy things that you do not believe in. And when it comes to like gaming, PC optimization, DLSS, version 69, whatever, you are responsible for your own results. That goes for all aspects of life. If you have trouble climbing upstairs and you're a heavy smoker, it says on the box, smoking will kill your lungs, and then you go and you buy it anyway. It's like, you're not going to blame the cigarette company for your addiction, right? Just don't buy the damn cigarettes. Now, this one is going to trigger a lot of people. Whining and complaining does nothing. The world is going to move on with or without you. AI is here to stay. It's only gonna get worse. And did you know that when Steve Jobs made the iPhone, one of his philosophies was people don't know what they want until you show it to them. And Nvidia has done that repeatedly. Well, arguably, they've done that repeatedly with all of their technologies. They release something that the market is not ready for, and it becomes the standard. And this is why they are the largest company on the planet. They wouldn't be doing this shit if they knew it wasn't gonna sell gangbusters. But hey, prove them wrong, man. Like, somebody go and make a spreadsheet on Reddit or something and list out every single game that supports DLSS 5 and do like a industry-wide boycott or something like that, right? Like, there's plenty of lists, like physics lists, SLI supported lists. There's lists for everything, man. Somebody go make a DLSS 5 list. Like, instead of sitting in your mom's basement, do something actionable that can make a difference. Like, make a YouTube channel. Dude, let me tell you, as a guy that's been trying to fight the narrative this entire time, get people real information and really help gamers, the most rewarding thing is when you get people that come back after 5 years and say you changed everything for them. Like this guy right here. He just bought a consult this morning after 5 years. I tuned his 10900K back in the day, and he watches all my videos, and he's just like, bro, keep going. You're doing God's work. And it's like, what's better? Doing this? Even though you get hate online for it, I know I'm on the right path. I sleep soundly at night. This or sitting in mom's basement complaining about shit. Go out there, take action, and make a difference. Be the change that you want to see in the world. Don't be scared. I had to get this off my chest. I mean, like, I feel like the internet needs to chill a little bit. Nothing bad ever really happens. You can always go back and play old games. Actually, it was funny. I was talking to a 20-year-old kid the other day, and it's weird because I'm 40 and he's 20. Oh, excuse me. And like he like doesn't know of a world before Fortnite. So I'm like, wait a minute. You've never played Chrono Trigger or like Final Fantasy 7 or Final Fantasy Tactics or like Breath of Fire or like Mario RPG? None of these games? He's like, I had never heard of those games before. I'm like, bro, I was like, I was so envious that of this young kid because he could basically go back and play the golden age of video games before all of this slop. Those of us that have been around and have played everything since the 80s, I think maybe that's why I'm so selective on where I waste my time. Like, if a game has to be really impressive for me to play it. I don't just go and pre-order a bunch of games and then complain about it. And do you know which games have been the most enjoyable the last couple of years for me? Indie games. Indie games don't use any of this garbage on them. They're just fun to play. Go play Valheim with the boys. But again, chill. Nothing bad's gonna happen. There's gonna be indie developers that are gonna use this technology to make better games for us. And then there's gonna be large AAA studios that are gonna serve us absolute garbage. Nothing is gonna change going forward. Play and buy the games that are for you. If you like the cut of the jib of the words that you heard in this video, and you want to join a community of like-minded gamers and hardware enthusiasts that do not complain and do not whine, we try to figure it out so that we can enjoy our games. If that sounds like you, join the Discord, framechasers.org. Or hey, if you just vibed with this video and you're going to use DLSS 5 to put titties on everything, scroll down below and hit the subscribe button. The second this technology is out, you're going to see a lot more titties on this channel. For those of you wondering about Leela's recovery, she's doing great. The mole removal was a success. The biopsy came back negative. She doesn't have cancer, so that's good. The leg surgery went successful. We are in the process of recovery now. I haven't slept in 6 days, but she is doing very well. Thank you to everyone that watched to the end of the video to check up on Leela. Don't worry, she will be back in the videos before you know it. And I'll see you guys in the next one.